What is different about your product?
You got a story to tell. Something gonna connect to somebody else.
How to actually run a business versus having a vision for a business.
A lot of people come to me and they say they're scared to take that next leap.
Visual design is always going to be driven by the vision.
And I just was like, how do I do this?
What am I adding that they don't have?
Hey, brand builders, ready to take your brand to the next level? I'm Dana Ammons, and welcome to the Brand Blueprint.
Hello and welcome back to the Brand Blueprint. I'm your host, Dana Ammons. Today, we're excited to bring you the latest installment of our Build a Brand panel segment. As part of our ongoing project, we've successfully completed stage 1, where we laid down a solid foundation by establishing a clear and compelling vision for our new product. Now, as we move forward into the crucial phase of market research, this episode is designed to offer you practical advice and insightful tips on how to effectively conduct market research for your brand. You'll gain valuable knowledge not only from the Brand Blueprint team, but also from our esteemed panel of guest experts and advisors. They bring a wealth of experience and will share proven strategies to help you understand your market and target audience better. Expect to learn about various market research tools, techniques to gather and analyze consumer data, and how to apply these insights to refine your product and marketing strategy. This segment is essential for anyone looking to enhance their brand's market fit and success. So whether you're just starting out or looking to improve an existing product, stay tuned for expert guidance that will empower your brand building journey. And also, don't forget to follow and engage with us on your favorite channels to never miss out on any of those crucial insights from the Brand Blueprint. Let's dive in and discover what the market holds for your brand.
Hi everyone, I am Cataanda. I am a beauty expert of many years, and I am one of the executive producers here on the Brand Blueprint. Thank you for joining us today with our wonderful panel discussion with Zandra of Brewed haircare. This is where we're going to tap into your expertise.
Hi.
Because
Hi.
part of this, like in the beginning stages, part of building the brand is market research. So can you tell us a little bit more or delve into more on your market research process and how that looked for you?
Yes. I mean, for me, what I really did is I assessed what was already working in the market that people weren't able to see the value of. So I saw on YouTube that over the years of me being natural and creating natural hair content, that green tea hair rinses were used as a treatment for hair loss. And nobody, I was like, wait a minute, nobody created a collection with green tea. Aha. That's what I'm going to use to segue into this. And I'm going to be the first to do it. And I had that confidence in myself to start it. And that's how I pretty much led to do that. I also researched if other people had the same products with green tea, if anything was green tea oriented, and if anything was geared towards hair loss and hair shedding and stuff like that. And I came across one brand that does, they have a product that's about coffee. So like kind of like similar concept, but not green tea. So I was like, okay, well, I got a competitor, but it's only one competitor. That's not that big of a deal. So let me go forward with this. And that's exactly what I did.
Awesome.
Now, Zandra, I have a question for you because I know, we find a lot of us use YouTube and Google to, check on different concepts, research a little further to see. But then there gets to a point where the real world matters, right? And you have to actually test it out. Tell us a little bit about how you what was your experience with green tea before you decided, okay, this definitely works. I need to take it into the production.
That's a great question, by the way. That's a great question. Like, that's a very great question because it's two parts of that. One is the hair rinse. I did that on myself before I even thought about Brewed hair care. And I did that to see if it will work for reducing, because I don't want to take medication. I know the side effects with it. I hate medication. Anybody that know me know I don't do that. I will, if it's not something serious, I'm not doing it. So I was like, okay, I'm going to find a way naturally. And that's when I did that research. And I started using it on myself every wash day for 1 week. And by the end of the second or third week, I noticed a drastic change. And I said, okay, let me start testing out some prototypes. So I actually filmed my journey, and you can check it out on Instagram, my stories. It shows my behind the scenes journey of me creating prototypes for the hair rinse, for my scalp spray, all my products. My hair rinse was my first product, and then I moved into my hair growth oil after that. So I pretty much like did prototypes. I did prototypes of what worked, and then I have a background in biochemistry. So I did biochemistry until junior year. So I seen like, okay, wow, this is really coming full circle. I like playing around with the different, formulas in the lab that I was in. I had the goggles. I was the full deal, like a lab coat. So I was like, wait a minute. You mean to tell me I'm a natural born formulator where I'm making products and I don't even know nothing other than the research? Well, I did hours of research, but I can do this without having any chemists like really do anything. All I had to do was check a chemist to make sure I had the right preservatives. Oh, wow. That's crazy. So I'm like, okay, we're going to create these prototypes and then we're going to send it out to people. So I actually sent it out to people to test my hair growth oil.
Nice.
And I think I tested my scalp spray maybe, but I mostly did the hair growth oil because that was my first product I premiered. And they loved it. It was some small tweaks they wanted, but they loved it. So I'm like, boom, this is good. This secures what I actually do. But the first tester was me to test it on myself because I was a natural hair lover. I had product after product after product in my stash. I had a whole cabinet full of products. So I knew that my products got to fulfill my desires before I release it to the public because I'm very particular of what I want. And I don't want to give half, I guess you could say, complete products. So I had to do that research behind the scenes. Even though I didn't do it in a large capacity, I did it in a small capacity of myself, my mom, and a few, I think 10 women that volunteered to do this. So that's how I did it.
For the green tea, as you said, you were the first brand and company that was using it as like your call out ingredient.
Yes.
Did you have any plans to begin with on how you were going to sell that claim and sell those benefits to people who had never really been paying attention to green tea as an ingredient before? Or did you know that it was just going to fly off the shelf from the beginning?
I had a vision when I started like that it was going to fly off the shelf, but it didn't. And the reason it didn't is not because of green tea, because during COVID, people were looking for products to reverse hair shedding. But due to my inexperience building, I guess you can say, selling skills of marketing it, of like having a budget of some bigger brands and what they have, I fell in the pool of people of like having website views, but I didn't fall in the pool of people to trust me enough to buy from me, because when people don't know you, they don't really buy from you, and you have to build that trust. So I figured that out very quickly because I invested so much money. I'm like, I'm spending $1,000 on label. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I'm doing that. I'm going hard for my business. I'm putting thank you cards. I'm doing custom business cards. I'm going to vendor events. And I seen like my stuff has the ability to blow, but I don't have the money to fund this the way I want to fund it. So for me, it was like, okay, I have to take a chance on myself and believe that this is going to go. And that's what I pretty much did. I said, okay, I know that my audience like hair care. I had 1,000 followers on Instagram, but those 1,000 followers were very, very, very connected to me. Like that niche of those followers trust everything I recommend to them. So I knew that when I launch it, they're going to support. And I had a very good turnaround. And you guys are going to laugh at, you're going to be sad, but laugh at the first thing that happened when I launched my products. But everybody on my page and their mama wanted to have my products because I built buzz, because I showed behind the scenes of letting people decide what to do of the label. If I wanted white containers or this container, I let people go into that process of picking what they wanted, essentially, like as if they were building a brand, brewing it together. So brewing means customizing, fitting it to you, curated for you. So that's why I knew that fit together in my marketing. And I built it like maybe not that far before, like maybe a month before. And I was able to get a lot of views and sales in my first month, like maybe over $1,000 in sales because of that. And that was with a hiccup when I launched, because when I launched my brand, I didn't know how to use Shopify. I never had a Shopify store before, and my products were marketed as pounds instead of ounces. So shipping is going to be high. So I'm like, why are people going to my website? I have all these views and no barely any sales. Like I had few sales when I first launched. I'm like, what? Then I find out, I'm like, oh my gosh, my things is pounds. And then something else happened where it was like not even registering, something like a second thing that happened. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's another wave of people. Because when you build buzz, if you miss that buzz, it's gone. There's like, it's going to take time to get them back because they're already in the heat of the moment. So I was like, okay, But then I persisted. I could have gave up, been like, but I keep persistent from that resilience in me. And I said, I'm going to go and I'm going to still market my products. And then I end up getting $1,000 in sales that month. And then I went to vendor events and it went from there. Yep.
So for new creators who are going through that same process, are there any specific things that you would recommend, just like making sure they're dotting their I's and crossing their T's from the beginning, like from the stuff that gave you the most trouble?
Number one, I mean, I guess this links to the tips that I would have for someone creating a hair care brand is you need to assess a strategy, because that's one thing I didn't have in the beginning is a business plan. I had it in my head. It was all in my head, but it wasn't on paper or like strategies of like, how would I do my marketing? What marketing would I focus on the most? Where is my audience at the most? Like things like that. I didn't know that, because when you don't have a business or you have nobody in your family that does business, you don't know where to go in that. It's kind of like you kind of going while blind. Like it's like being like this, like using a cane and touching stuff and hoping that you hit it and you find it. So it's like a maze too, because you kind of going and you kind of bumping your head and you go to this wall and you go back around. It's like, it's a lot of things. So for me as a person that would start a brand now, I would say to slow down. You're not going to make $1 million in one day. Like, stop it. Like, even if it's an idea as good as Brewed Hair Care, you're not going to make $1 million in one day. You need to chill and you need to pull back and say, what can I afford to budget every month for my business? You need to make sure your branding is on point. So even if you got to spend more time doing that, and I'm aware of a resource that I want to plug now for people that may not know, which is called Pietra. And Pietra basically provides an all-in-one hub for you to contact suppliers, contact, like if you got a design of what you want your products to be, it's all in one hub. So it's a membership fee you got to pay every month with that. But that's a resource I found before they got hot now. And now they're hot. That's why they're like, exploding. Even Jeffree Star went there to formulate his new cosmetics line. So yeah, that's how big they are now. So people have to realize that when you get into business, you're gonna have that passion. And my passion ended up making me broke from that, because even though I had a great idea, I didn't need to spend $20,000 on my business. Or like, even though the side thing I have, which is an invention, I had a patent pending for something related to hair care, which I'm not going to reveal what it is because you guys going to have to see. But now when you do patent pending, this is a thing of called slow down, because when I went fast, I wasn't able to see that, okay, I don't need to do this right now. Like, wait till I get at least $10,000 in sales, $20,000 in sales, then I can drop this. But when you get a patent pending and you let it expire and you don't go for the full patent, you got to reapply for that patent pending. And now your design is already out there. People already seen your design, so they can easily steal it. So people have to know how to be humble in a sense of like, I'm trying to think of the other word for it. I can't think of it at the top of my head, but it's a thing about it. But being patient, that everything's going to fall in line, and being step-by-step, bite-sized pieces, and investing yourself of things that you know are going to be well, which is digital marketing, because digital marketing ties in with building your brand. And if I would have had the course that I have now, it's a course that I sell and everything. I do digital marketing. If I would have had that course, an all-in-one hub of how to do my brand, I would have been a beast. I would have saved so much money earlier. I would have invested way less into my business and did the right things that I needed to prioritize. Because some stuff don't need to be prioritized in the beginning. You don't need to prioritize. I had a mobile app when I launched, guys. A mobile freaking application. That was like almost, what was that, $700 that I wasted for 3 months? Like, and then they tell me, I was shocked because I did the 3 months, right? My app. I'm like, yes, I got a mobile app. And then they emailed me like, you got to pay $700 extra. I said, what? It's got to go. You got to go. Like, you got to go. So, I didn't know that in the beginning, that I got to like literally slow down. Like, your passion, people don't tell you that. But when you start a business, you passionate, you going to want to run at 1,000 miles per hour. But you got to slow yourself down back to like 50 miles per hour. Because if you go 1,000 miles per hour, you can end up getting into a crash.
Yeah.
I think it's also important to mention in there because part of the slowing down and having to slow down from the beginning would also be slowing down your expectations. Because, like you said earlier, it's like you're not going to become a millionaire on the first day selling these products. So I guess my question would be for someone who's just starting into this hair care business or into the cosmetic business, what kind of expectations do you think that from the beginning they should be setting or not setting? You know, like what kind of expectations should they have for themselves or for their brands, for their first, sales, for their first month in business, and for their return on investment? Because as you said, like you start out by putting a lot of money into the brand that you're creating, into your love child, basically. And how do you set the expectations onto how much you're going to be getting on returns from the beginning?
Okay, so that plugs to kind of like what I'm going to be doing of like risk assessment of like, what is your risk with your investment of what you're making right now? Like, what is your risk? Like, what are you going to gain from this? And what are you going to lose from this? So sometimes people go into it and they don't know. And then they spend all this money because they don't know that risk is too great of a risk. Like me getting into hair care wasn't a risk for me because I was a school counselor and I cashed out $20,000 in my retirement. So that wasn't a risk for me. That was like a very little risk. Like, okay, I got 20,000. Oh yeah, I definitely can make this. But I didn't know I was gonna be so passionate with business that I'm gonna spend all of it. But at the end of the day, I knew my risk was like low because I was able to go forward and actually make sales with my business. So I knew like this was willing. I was able to make money from what I was passionate about because I had already did the research to see it's a demand for this, that people are actually having hair shedding. People are having postpartum hair shedding. People are having male pattern baldness, female pattern baldness. So I knew like all my things in life of what I seen, like people, when I would see people with their hair like that, I knew it was a demand. So you want to assess the demand first, and that will be able to make you assess the risk of getting into this business. But even if the risk is high, you can invest little like you would in stocks and bonds. You invest little. People, this is another educational thing that people need to know. You need to assess your finances to assess if you can take that on that, I don't want to say burden, but that extra bill. Because in your business, you're going to have to fuel your business financially unless you have credit. And a lot of my Black people don't have access to credit like me. They maybe made some mistakes. They did something and now they have to start over, or they have to get all the cash themselves. So people have to know this to be able to slow down and be like, this risk is not the one I want to take right now, but I can get there by saving money small, to where I can save for my like maybe 6 months or a year of my Shopify. I can save for maybe 6 months of my containers of my products. So now that gives you where you don't want to be in a situation where I was in the beginning, where I wasn't able to have containers to produce products because I had to keep fueling my business with the same money of what I was getting. But I did something smart when I first launched that I want to tell people is when you launch, you don't even have to have your products made or or you just have to have one prototype of your label full package with the outside. You don't even have to have the product inside. Just take a photo of it and you must have your formulas. I have all my formulas together, but I didn't need my products to be able to sell and pre-order for me to generate money to use that to fuel my business. So a lot of people don't know that either. So that's a very important strategy I wanted to plug.
Zandra, that's actually a good point because a lot of founders run into financial duress because they have spent too much money on inventory early on, right? And they bought a ton of bottles and a ton of labels and a ton of raw materials, right? And then the other thing that I think our viewers need to be aware of, if you find yourself considering doing that, is you may decide to change an element of your label, change your formula slightly, even potentially go to a different bottle. And so buying a bunch of that up front, even if you get a deal, because I know there are a lot of founders out there who pride themselves on finding the deals, right? You found a guy who knew a guy and he had a container and he sold you, 700 bottles on pennies on the dollar and you're feeling really good about yourself, but you don't have the sales to move that product, right? So while you've got all this inventory is cash. Cash is tied up now and sitting in a warehouse or a box in your garage and not in your bank account where it can be meaningful for you. So I really appreciate that advice. And I want to circle back to something else and just double click there, because your story is really amazing in the sense that you went out and actually made an effort to master many of these skills needed to be a functional, not founder, but really brand, right? Like you've taught yourself digital marketing, you've taught yourself formulation, you've taught yourself how to really, go into product design from a holistic standpoint.
Yes.
What would you advise founders who don't have the ambitious and frankly educational bandwidth you have to really go in and quickly learn some of these other skill sets? What would you tell them? Because it's still a bootstrap world, right? How do they bootstrap it? Man, I'm not as smart as Zandra. I know I'm not going to be able to go out there and learn how to do, the chemical thing, for instance. What would you tell them?
I would tell them that in order for you to do better, you have to know better. And what that means is you need to put mentors in your mind 24/7, 7 days a week. Follow all hair care brands. Do all the research of anybody where you want to be and manifest that for yourself, and get closer to God and ask him and say that I really want this. Can you give me the signs? Can you give me the money? Can you give me the funding for me to do this? Because I want this. Give me the knowledge. Touch me with everything I need to be touched with for me to do this. I trust you, God. I'm going to go by your path. Even if it takes me 5 years to start my brand, I'm going to do it. And also read books. There's so many books out here. I literally didn't read any book before I started Brewed Hair Care. And if I would have read a book, I probably would have been a beast faster. Because it's literally one book I read from my mom that game changed my whole mindset of selling. And I'm still learning how to sell, but I feel like it was like, aha, like you're not selling your product of the benefits. You're selling the value you add to the customer. And when I seen that, I said, that's why I haven't gotten as many sales. I got some sales, but I haven't gotten as many as I should because I haven't focused on that value that I provide to their lives. Like the fact that you can go on your watch day, have a relaxing watch day with calming. Some of this is commercials you're going to see in the future. It's going to be hilarious. But, I'll plan on adding some comedy to my commercials and stuff. Kind of like how Apple will attempt to do at least. But they attempt to put comedy, but it's like a cheesy, corny comedy. I love Apple, by the way. But yeah, they put corny, cheesy stuff, but I want to put some silly elements. But, like the water dripping down on your scalp, you feel the cooling sensation. It hits you like some frost, like a commercial. I'll give y'all some pointers on creativity, but some frost come your way on the screen. You're like, oh, this is giving me a cooling feeling on my scalp. Oh yeah. Then you follow up. You get the same experience with each product where it relaxes you deeper and deeper into tranquility that you can't seem to get out of because you keep getting addicted to these products where you have to keep buying it, and then full circle is going to help you to reverse your hair aging. So you're going to need to use this for life because guess what? Our hair ages every day. So the more you use it, the more you're going to notice your hair is going to get stronger, thicker, healthier. So you're going to be addicted to this product and you're going to literally possibly, I hate to say this, but when you use it and you use a good product, what happens when you stop using a good product? Your hair goes back to normal of where it was before. So guess what? I'm gonna have a lifelong customer, and you need to think about how you can make a lifelong customer. What's your value proposition that will make them for life come to you? Is it your customer service? Is it picking out your, you have these strengths that you want to have, and that's one thing I found from the book that my mom had. One book, they said you need to focus on your strengths when you start a business. What are your strengths? My strengths is customer service, creativity, being adaptable. Things like that, right? So many benefits I have, but I was able to use that, and I use that as superb customer service for my customers. No matter when I fail in my business, I offer, like one time I was late for an order, I gave her like 2 extra products, full size. And my stuff is luxury price, but not high luxury, but it's luxury where most people, if they don't have the budget, or they don't see the value, they're not going to buy it because they like, what? Who is this brand, Brewed Hair Care? I never heard of them before. Why am I going to invest $40 into this when I don't know what they are, So that's what I would advise is just assess your risk, assess your value proposition.
And it's a great point you made. I think I want brand builders to know what that point really means for them, in the sense that there are times in the economy that represent good times to launch new products. And then there's
Yep.
times in the economy that don't represent good times to
Yep.
launch products. And you called out one really, really key insight that startup founders need to understand, which is in times of recessionary economic status, there tends to be a harder or stronger movement of consumers relying on brands that they know and that are familiar to them.
Yep.
And when I was with P&G and Colgate and Pepsi, those companies rely on their brands to perform in down times. Why? Because in down times when money's tight, people don't want to take a risk on an unknown entity, right? Like you don't want to go out and spend $20 of your hard-earned money when you only have 40 total to spend in the
Yes.
store that day. You're not going to spend 20 on a cosmetic or a hair care product that you don't know. You're going
Yes.
to likely go drop that money on a brand that you're really familiar with. So it's something for founders to think about. If you are launching a brand in a space or a category that is currently experiencing an economic downturn or in the midst of an economic downturn, it is going to be harder for you to get consumers to trust that brand off the shelf. And I think it's such a great insight, Zandra. But
Yes.
ultimately, we want to really thank you, Zandra, for coming on the call today and just really breaking things down for us in a very transparent and very clear and understandable way.
Yes.
It's not
No problem. No problem.
often that people get a chance to hear a founder talk so passionately about their business and their personal aspirations. And so I really want to thank you from the team and from our audience for sharing with us today.
Yes. No problem. No problem.
I love it. I love it.
Yes,
I love
yes,
it. So we are looking forward to continuing to follow your story as you continue to make things happen and trailblaze across multiple areas.
Yes.
I can't wait to see
Yes.
Brewed fit and Brewed kids and Brewed body. Like I am going to be one of your biggest
Golden Brewed
customers.
everything.
We are going to be all the way there. So once again, we really are happy about another great panel segment with the brand Blueprint. Our guest today, Zandra Thomas, has really dropped some serious knowledge. So if you haven't watched this segment, rewind, watch it a couple of times. There are going to be a couple of really, really good jewels for you to take from this show.
Hi there, Christian here. Let's talk about our survey and our findings, shall we? To talk about the survey and our findings, first we have to talk about a couple of things. The first one is that this is an exploratory research. We haven't defined our market yet. We are trying to gather as much information as possible from potential consumers, and that is going to show us what they really need, what their characteristics are, how can we reach them in the future, like in terms of sales and marketing, etc. And the reason for using a survey is because, as we have mentioned in the Brand Data Lab, it is one of the most simplest tools that you can use to gather information. It is simple for you who are making the survey, and it is simple to use by the person who is filling the survey. And now let's get into the survey itself. We have divided it in 3 categories, which are demographics, the haircare knowledge, and their product preferences. The first one, the demographics, we cover the basics like your age, gender, what hair type and length they have, and what were their goals and issues. Of course, this is not exactly precise to be fit into this category, but just for explanation purposes, we are trying to group them as easy as possible. Then we had their buying habits and their hair care knowledge. First, we gather the channels in which they usually buy their products, like is it online? Is it through retailers? Are those retailers big retailers or small ones? Are they buying their products in grocery shops, etc.? But also we want to have a secondary goal, that it is also to try to educate people so that they are more informed and they are evaluating which products to use. Finally, we had the third category, which is the product preferences. Now, here we go to very precise questions like what types of products they use, shampoos, conditioners, etc. how loyal are they to their favorite brands, and which specific brands do they buy products from. Finally, let's take a look at the results, the specific results of our survey. So, our potential consumer is going to be mostly female, age from 25 to 34, with curly hair. They are usually trying to search for a product that keeps their hair health and length. They also try to search for a product that helps with breakage and dry hair. They will usually buy their products through mega retailers like Walmart and Target, and also beauty retailers. Regarding some of their habits, is that they are not actively trying to educate themselves regarding hair matters, and when they do, they will use social media and YouTube for this. They will also use these platforms for doing research when they want to check if some new product is good, or if this specific product can be is better than other for this type of situations. They have a blurry idea of what length retention is, and this is important because of our second goal that I just mentioned. And this is a key insight that we will probably exploit when we do our strategy. That is that there is a consistent lack of trust in the different brands research and the benefits that they advertise to have with their products. So basically, with this information, you should be able to build a profile like this one, and it is going to be really useful for other exercises, like for example making a buyer persona.
Hi everyone, this is Cataanda James. I am your co-host at the Brand Blueprint, and I am also a hair expert and licensed cosmetologist, in addition to being a certified hair loss practitioner. Now, we asked a series of questions to various consumers of different hair types and different curl types, and we wanted to get to know more about their hair concerns, but also we dug a little deeper to finding out how well versed they were in particular forms of products and terms. Now, we have some results. 46.8% of our consumers said that they are interested in hair and health strength, and their goals are obviously in healthy hair, which is awesome because it aligns with where we are going with this product. Next up, we wanted to know the exact knowledge of length retention, like how many people had knowledge of this term and knew exactly what it meant. So the consumers answered, 60% said yes, that they knew what the length retention term was and they had knowledge in that category. 6.7% said not sure, and then a whopping 33.3% said no, they didn't have knowledge of that length retention term, nor did they know what it was. Now, as far as types of products, we surveyed on preferred product textures. As you know, products come in various textures. You can have gel forms, you could have cream forms, you could have sprays, which are liquids. You can have hybrid forms, which are liquid to cream, cream to liquids, gel to foam. There are so many different textures that we have on the market these days. The oil category topped our survey of all of our survey participants. The next would have been creams, and then following creams as the third runner-up, we have serums. Next, we asked a question that's very pertinent and important to our product development: what types of products they associated with length retention. The top selection here was oils again. The next was supplements, which sort of makes sense because we have those hair, skin, and nail vitamins and supplements that are out there these days, collagen supplements, so on and so forth. And that is something that has been taking over the social media streams and taking us by storm. The next, as the third runner up, is again serums. Next, we have questions associated with breakage and prevention. Number one again was oils. Number two is coming in as creams. Number three came in as serums, and then the other two options were gels and sprays. Oils versus serums is actually a conversation that I have regularly with clients, but also with brands when I'm consulting. We know that oil and water do not mix. So when you think of oil, do you automatically think of moisture? Do you think of hydration when it comes to oils or not? Serums could be a makeup of various ingredients, various vitamins and nutrients, not necessarily oils. Some serums actually contain some oils or emollients or occlusives. And I think that's where the education comes into play. If we are wanting to retain length on our hair, if we are wanting to prevent breakage, if we are wanting to hydrate our hair and scalp, would we necessarily use hair oil or no? As an educator, as a licensed cosmetologist, as a consumer myself, as a product developer and product tester and evaluator, my answer would be oils have its place, but it doesn't necessarily have its place in certain realms to reap certain benefits, such as hydration. Next up, we have products that people currently use. So we asked the consumers, what do you currently use? Like, what are you currently using to help you combat your hair concerns and also your preferences as product texture? The products that are currently in use obviously would be shampoos and conditioners. They were a tie. Everyone needs shampoo and everyone needs conditioner, regardless of what your hair concerns are. You need a clean, healthy scalp, and you need conditioner to help to maintain your styles. Oils came next again, and serums were once again in last place. In this case, it actually works out for us because that means there's a space in the market for a new product in that category. From this market research survey, we have concluded that we will develop a hair serum to address hair and health strength, to help in preventing breakage, which in return will then help us to retain length. So length retention being the focus here of this product. That is the key benefit of our product that we will be developing, which will come in a form as a serum. We will get into a little bit more about this based on ingredients, based on reasons why, according to formulation, based on the science behind hair products and beauty. And we will go a little bit deeper into that as we go through the additional capsules that we have forthcoming with founders, with CEOs, and executives working in beauty product development, particularly CPG. That is what we are going to develop, guys. That is the huge announcement that we wanted to make. And thank you for those who actually participated in our market research study. We truly and greatly appreciate your insight and your voice in this product development process, because at the end of the day, we are all about consumer centricity. Thank you so much. Again, I am Cataanda James, your co-host here at the Brand Blueprint. I am your favorite hairstylist. Thank you for joining us and have fun as we go through this journey from concept to fruition and maybe launch. But anyway, thank you so much, guys, and we will see you on the next capsule.
Wow, that was great. Thanks to both Christian and Cataanda for their incredible insights and analysis. Christian's breakdown of the Google Form survey results really gives us a deep dive into the key demographics and socioeconomic traits and the hair needs of our consumers. And Cataanda, that analysis really helped her pinpoint some of the more important perceptions, particularly when it comes to hair growth versus length retention. She identified, I think, as you heard, that length retention, specifically preventing hair breakage, is a crucial need state for this consumer. Now, while surveys like the one we conducted are an excellent method of gathering consumer insights, they should never be the only tool you use in market research. There's several other ways of getting a better or gaining a better understanding of your market and your consumer. Some of those include social media listening, which is literally just paying attention to the conversations that are happening across your social media platforms. Look for trends and discussions about product preferences and consumer complaints. Competitor analysis. This is one that a lot of people miss. Analyze what your competitors are doing. This includes their pricing, their packaging, marketing strategies. What does their website look like versus yours? What is the consumer feedback on their products on their website that people may not be saying about yours? Focus groups. This is an oldie but goodie. A great opportunity to have potential customers have an in-depth conversation with you about their preferences, their experiences, and their product. Also, online reviews and testimonials. Explore the reviews online. Check out Target's website, Amazon, Ultra. All of those websites, Sephora, have great information that you can use to gain better understanding of what satisfies consumers and, frankly, what pisses them off. Really good ways to understand your consumer satisfaction, pain points, and desires a little bit better. And finally, anything that you do in this space is not a one-time effort. Market research and understanding your consumer is an ongoing journey and one that you should never really stop. You should always be out listening to the consumer, looking for ways to better understand ways that you can improve your product and your offerings to fit the needs that the consumer is telling you in multiple ways they want.
I couldn't have said it better myself, Dana. I think it's similar to what we heard from one of our expert interviews with Dwan White, which is the most important thing is to know who your consumer is, know your target audience, know your markets, and know who you're selling to and what you're selling for. You know, what is it that you're giving them? And as Dana said, it's so important to just not be satisfied with just one data point, as we have shown just in one data point in our video. But it's so important to have multiple points of reference when you're talking about your consumer and your market, because especially as we go forward to the next capsule, which is all about brand positioning and identity, if you're building your brand in a vacuum, if you don't have an idea of who you're selling to, of what their market is, where they're going to find your product, then you're not going to be creating the proper position for your brand. You're not going to be creating the proper designs for your brand. So it's so important to know your market and know your consumer as you move forward to the next step, which is brand positioning and identity. I think it's also equally important to say that although we didn't show it on screen during this work session, one of the next steps that we would need would be to create a persona or personas using all this information that we've collected. And those personas are going to be the personifications, literally, of our target audience, of our market. And those personas, as Dana said earlier, aren't a one and done. They constantly need to be updated. They constantly need to be reevaluated and looked at, because as these personas change, so do our market and our consumer.
And this is really about understanding your target consumer and who they are so we can position our product in a way that truly resonates with them. And that's where capsule 3 comes in. So our next capsule, capsule 3, we'll be talking about brand identity and positioning. And it's a natural link to market research and analysis because, to Heloise's point, the critical juncture of that information is now connecting it to definable, clear consumer personas that represent the typical consumer you are trying to attract with your product. So in our next capsule, we'll be going deeper on different techniques and methods of establishing both your brand identity and then positioning that brand to your target consumer so they can really understand what the product offers to them. Then it resonates with them, and then they actually purchase the product. Thanks again to Christian and Cataanda and Heloise for their invaluable contributions, and to all of you for tuning in. We're just getting started on this exciting journey to build a brand from the ground up. Thanks, and we look forward to you joining us very, very soon.
See you next time.
Thanks for joining us on the Brand Blueprint journey. Make sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms to stay updated. Watch the full episodes on our YouTube channel for an in-depth experience. Don't forget to subscribe to our website at thebrandblueprint.biz for exclusive content and materials. We're everywhere you need us to be.